Yellowstone Volcano. Scientists claim the supervolcano is overdue. He basically claims that it can go off any time. Yellowstone Volcano unexpectedly could erupt very soon, even next week, he says. This is according to American scientists claiming after admitting no one knows when the supervolcano could rumble back to life, but we are overdue another Yellowstone eruption. Are we overdue anytime soon? We know that Yellowstone has had at least 3 major eruptions in the past 2 million years, with each blast shaping the landscape of the volcano. The eruptions went off about an average of every 720,000 years. 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and 640,000 years ago. It was a double eruption, 170 years apart. Then we had a lava eruption 70,000 years ago, and 80 eruptions since then. Now, according to U.S. Geological Survey, Yellowstone's last major eruptions created the caldera. The most recent eruption, the modern-day Lava Creek Tuff, the geological formation stretches across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. This is where we have the Yellowstone National Park. And today, Yellowstone's volcano's caldera measures 34 by 45 miles wide. It's hard to predict, though, what would happen if this supervolcano decided to erupt for a 4th time. Now, we know it's one of the 20 supervolcanoes of the world. The most dangerous and active volcanoes are Yellowstone, we have Mount St. Helens, we have Mount Rainier, we have another supervolcano nearby that has had earthquake swarms after the Ridgecrest earthquake, the Long Valley Caldera supervolcano of California. We have Mount Vesuvius in Italy. They're not supervolcanoes, but they're active. Mount Merapi of Indonesia, Mount Agung, Indonesia, Mount Fiji in Japan, Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines. We even have the Mexico volcanoes, Mount Popo and Colina, are also erupting. Now, according to one scientist, another Yellowstone eruption could come sooner than expected. This is former professor in California, Ron Smith. He warns there is a chance Yellowstone will blow again in the future. Speaking during a lecture at Dixie University of Utah, he argued there is no way to predict with any certainty when this will happen. He said Yellowstone has gotten a lot of publicity because of the severity of a supervolcanic eruption and the effect it would have on our Earth, obviously. He said we cannot say that Yellowstone is overdue. It's probably going to blow again, but it could well be 500,000 years from now or a week from Tuesday. But according to USGS, the probability of another Yellowstone super eruption is extremely low for the foreseeable future. A likely scenario that is more probable is Yellowstone will have a hydrothermal eruption and not a volcanic eruption. In other words, a hydrothermal is what we had December 9th in the White Island volcano of the North Island of New Zealand. That was a hydrothermal eruption, and it was a surprise and very explosive. USGS said these reservoirs are the sources of Yellowstone's famous geysers, the hot springs, and the fumaroles. And such explosions could blast out shallow craters more than a kilometer wide, and it has occurred in the northern Yellowstone Lake Basin. This is what created Mary Lake, and nearby Turbid Lake, and also Indian Pond in the western Yellowstone National Park north of Old Faithful. So all these ponds and little lakes were created by past hydrothermal eruptions. Mary Bay was 5,300 years ago, for example. And he said each of these craters was produced by steam blasts within the past few thousand years. Another likely event is a smaller eruption of lava that could also include explosive phases, he said. A major caldera-forming eruption is the least likely of the 3 eruptive scenarios. Now, is Yellowstone overdue another eruption? As we said, the 3 eruptions occurred 2.1, 1.3 million years ago, and 640,000 years ago. The 2 intervals are about 0.8 and 0.66 million years, and the average is 0.73 million year intervals. And again, the last eruption was 640,000 years ago, implying that we're still about 90,000 years away from a time when we might consider Yellowstone overdue for another caldera-forming eruption. Nevertheless, we can't discount the possibility of another such eruption occurring sometime in the future, given Yellowstone's volcanic history and the continued presence of magma beneath the Yellowstone caldera. And we recently have been told that the magma is coming from Baja California. This is also the same magma and plume that's feeding the west coast, for example, the volcanic fields of Salton Buttes, Salton Sea, the Ridgecrest Costa volcanic field, Long Valley Caldera Supervolcano, and the Hydra volcanoes of the west coast. And also, that's the west arm, and also the east arm of that is going and feeding towards Yellowstone. This is on Express UK by Sebastian Ketley. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.